Today's episode of Days of Our Lives doesn't shock us with explosions or arrests. Instead, it does something far more dangerous. It raises a question, and then refuses to answer it. In the Demera crypt, a discovery forces Chad to confront his greatest fear. Across Salem, secrets deepen, tempers explode, and emotional pressure builds. And by the end of the episode, one thing is clear. Tuesday, December 16th, isn't about resolution. It's about unease. Let's break down everything that happens and why the silence surrounding Abigail Demera may be the loudest clue of all. The emotional core of this episode doesn't unfold in a courtroom, a hospital, or a living room. It unfolds underground, in the Demera crypt, a place already heavy with death, legacy, and unresolved trauma. Chad Demera finally allows himself to say the one thought he's been suppressing for years. He admits to Theo Carver that the bones discovered in the crypt could belong to Abigail. And the way he says it matters. This isn't dramatic. This isn't speculative. This is not a theory spoken out loud. This is fear. Pure, paralyzing fear. Because if those bones were Abigail's, it wouldn't just confirm her death. It would destroy the one fragile thing Chad has survived on since losing her. Hope. Hope that something never sat right. Hope that the lack of a body meant something. Hope that his refusal to fully accept her death wasn't denial, but instinct. And Chad doesn't cry. He doesn't rage. He doesn't collapse. Instead, he does something far more revealing. He speaks, quietly, carefully, as if saying the words too loudly might make them real. He admits that a part of him has always believed Abigail could still be alive, and that if that belief were taken away, if it were proven false, he doesn't know how he would recover from that loss a second time. This moment strips Chad down to his emotional core, because no matter how much time has passed, no matter how hard he's tried to move forward, no matter who he's dated or connected with since, Abigail remains the axis around which his heart still turns. She is not a memory he's moved past. She is an unanswered question he's learned to live with. And for the first time, Chad allows himself to say that out loud. Theo listens. And unlike Chad, who is overwhelmed by grief, Theo approaches the situation with clarity. He looks at the bones. He thinks. And then he notices what Chad can't bring himself to see. Based on their structure, their size, their formation, Theo believes the remains belong to a male. That single observation changes everything. The tension in the scene doesn't disappear. It shifts. Chad feels relief, but it's not joy. It's not victory. It's not peace. It's fragile, measured, almost painful. Because while the bones not being Abigail's means his worst fear hasn't come true, it also means nothing has been resolved. Chad is still suspended between hope and grief, between loss and possibility, between acceptance and refusal. And this is where Days of Our Lives makes one of its most deliberate storytelling choices of the episode. If the show wanted to permanently close Abigail's story, this was the moment to do it. They could have confirmed the bones were hers. They could have forced Chad into finality. They could have removed all doubt and given him absolute closure. Instead, the writers do something far more intentional. They introduce the possibility, then pull it back. They remind viewers of something crucial. Abigail's body was never recovered. Her death was never definitively proven. And Chad has never emotionally let her go. Not for a second. This scene doesn't exist to end a chapter. It exists to reopen a wound that was never fully healed. By letting Theo rule Abigail out, but stopping there, the show ensures that one truth remains intact. Abigail's fate is still unresolved. And as long as that uncertainty exists, her presence continues to shape Chad's life, whether she's on screen or not. This moment doesn't close the door. It makes sure it stays open. Quietly, deliberately, and with purpose. Above ground, the emotional tension doesn't ease. It simply takes a different shape. Chanel finds Johnny at one of the most vulnerable moments of his life. E.J. DiMera is missing. And even though Johnny made the painful decision to cut his father out of his life, that separation was emotional, not a death sentence. Johnny never wanted this. What we see in him now isn't anger. It isn't resentment. It's shock. The kind that hits when unfinished business suddenly feels permanent. Johnny is conflicted, caught between years of unresolved resentment and the undeniable truth that EJ is still his father. He struggles to articulate that pain, choosing instead to minimize it, to push it down, to appear steady. And that's where Chanel steps in. She becomes his anchor. She listens without interrupting. She offers reassurance without judgment. She promises that no matter what happens next, they will face it together. On the surface, this is a moment of genuine partnership. But underneath it lies a dangerous imbalance. Because Chanel is holding back a truth that could fundamentally change everything Johnny is feeling. She's pregnant. She knows the pregnancy could be medically risky. She knows Johnny is already emotionally overloaded, and she knows that revealing this right now would completely destabilize him. So she chooses silence. Not out of deception, but out of protection. And that choice makes this moment deeply unsettling. Because while Chanel's comfort is sincere, it's also incomplete. She is asking Johnny to lean on her without allowing him to fully stand beside her. And in Salem, secrets born from love don't stay buried. They detonate. Elsewhere in Salem, another kind of pressure cooker is reaching its boiling point. Kat Green and Rafe Hernandez clash again, and this time the tension is sharper, more personal, and far less patient. Rafe isn't just reacting, he's in full investigator mode. With DiMera captives missing, crypt chaos escalating, and too many coincidences piling up, Rafe's instincts are on high alert. And Kat is starting to look like an unanswered question he can't ignore. Rafe presses her, challenges her, tests her reactions, not because he wants her to be guilty, but because something about her story doesn't quite line up. Kat, for her part, refuses to bend. She pushes back hard. She insists she's not involved, that she's not hiding anything, that Rafe is seeing patterns where none exist. But the more forcefully Kat defends herself, the more Rafe senses resistance. And in law enforcement, resistance often reads as concealment. This confrontation matters because it exposes a dangerous fracture forming in Salem. Trust, once broken, doesn't collapse loudly. It erodes. And when law enforcement begins doubting civilians, and civilians begin distrusting authority, misjudgments follow. Wrong conclusions are drawn, Innocent people get pulled into chaos, and real threats slip through the cracks. This isn't just an argument. It's a warning sign that Salem is on the edge of a much bigger breakdown. As the episode moves forward, the tension doesn't dissipate. It spreads. And nowhere is that more evident than in Gabby's interaction with Javi. Gabby lashes out, sharply, suddenly, and without warning. But this isn't about Javi saying the wrong thing. It's about timing. Pressure has been closing in on Gabby from all sides. The Demera chaos, the missing captives, the growing sense that secrets are no longer safe. Javi becomes the nearest outlet for emotions Gabby refuses to confront directly. Her anger is defensive. Her words are cutting. And her reaction feels disproportionate, which is exactly why it's revealing. People don't explode like that unless they're afraid of something slipping out. Gabby isn't just angry. She's terrified that whatever she's tried to suppress, whatever guilt or knowledge she's been carrying, is inching closer to exposure. Her outburst doesn't protect her. It exposes her vulnerability. Meanwhile, Gwen makes a move of her own, and it's far more calculated. She tries to scare Leo, not with logic, not with persuasion, but with intimidation. This isn't playful manipulation or clever scheming. It's desperation. Gwen senses her influence weakening. She feels control slipping through her fingers. And when power begins to fade, fear becomes the weapon of last resort. But Gwen makes a critical miscalculation. Leo is not easily frightened. He thrives on uncovering secrets. He leans into danger. And threats only encourage him to dig deeper. Instead of silencing Leo, Gwen may have just guaranteed that he won't stop looking. What makes Tuesday's episode resonate isn't any single storyline. It's the pattern beneath them all. Avoidance. Chad fears the truth but can't stop circling it. Chanel hides the truth in the name of protection. Kat deflects the truth to preserve her independence. Gabby lashes out to keep the truth buried. Gwen tries to control the truth before it controls her. Different motivations, same outcome. And beneath Salem, quite literally, sits the physical manifestation of all this avoidance. The Demera Crypt. A place built to hold the past. A place designed to conceal history. A place now housing bones that represent the one truth no one is prepared to face. Abigail's fate. The show had a clear opportunity to close that chapter. Instead, it did something far more deliberate. It reminded viewers that there was never a body. There was never certainty. And grief without answers doesn't fade. It festers. The crypt isn't just a location. It's a mirror, reflecting everything Salem is refusing to confront. Tuesday, December 16th doesn't deliver answers. And that's not a failure of storytelling. It's a warning. The bones aren't Abigail's. But they aren't closure either. They exist to send a clear message. If Days of Our Lives wanted Abigail's story finished, it would be. Instead, the show continues to circle the same unresolved question, quietly, deliberately, and with intent. Why? Because in Salem, there's a rule that has never failed. If there's no body and no certainty, the story isn't over. Not yet. And the longer the truth stays buried, the more dangerous its eventual reveal becomes. So Tuesday doesn't end with a twist. It ends with tension. the kind that lingers, the kind that grows, the kind that explodes when no one is ready. Stay tuned, because silence in Salem is never permanent.